So this was likely the worst box office in the history of cinema. At least for the month of October, it definitely is. When adjusted for inflation, this particular box office performance is criminal and exactly the bloodbath that the title suggests. We're going to talk about it, and we're going to talk about what's happening to Hollywood and the fact that I don't think they're ever going to recover. Here we go. Now, before we get started, just a quick reminder, we are trying to get to 50K here. We're trying to get 1,000 members. So if you want to make sure you don't miss any of the videos, make sure you're still subscribed, hit the thumbs up button, of course, and also turn on all notifications so you don't miss anything. We've got Paramount calling Regretting You at number 1 with 8.1 million and Universal Blumhouse's Black Phone 2 at 8 million. That's where we are right now, at least according to the Sunday update. Where this will end up sometime at the end of Monday is entirely a guessing game at this point, but I think it's quite possible the numbers could be lower. And actually, that's starting to fit a pattern that's been happening in theatrical releases lately. Big expectations and very large shortfalls, and that's all Hollywood knows. But from the story, from Deadline, from Anthony D'Alessandro, we're looking at this Calling You thing trying to lead the way out of a very poor performance at 8.1 million. Black Phone comes in at 8 million, which Black Phone 2 has been doing rather well, but it's a horror film, and that seems to be the norm. The math on Regretting You is not working out this morning for several of the non-Paramount executives. You see, rivals see Black Phone 2 is winning the weekend overall, 8 million to 7.2, but when you look at the math and the performance in the box office reality, these two films are separated by about $100,000. Most titles in the top 10 saw 100% surges or more between their Saturdays and their Sleepy Friday, and they're, of course, blaming that on the fact that there is a World Series involved in this weekend. Not to mention the fact that, well, Halloween was on a Friday, which didn't help very much. We expected more from Netflix's K-pop Demon Hunters, but it didn't do nearly what we thought it would be. It looks like the weekend is now estimated to be about 5.3 million after a very shaky $600,000 Friday. This is going to make the running cumulative a lot better at 24.3 million, but maybe not something you needed to pull so late in the season. Now, I highlighted this paragraph because it's kind of important. As far as October, sources believe that it's not a bellwether. Rather, a solution lies in a steady supply of some theatrical events, which we don't have. And as I said, this is the worst October ever in history, at least since they've been keeping track of such things. But when you look at the numbers and where the finishes are predicted to be, and again, I say predicted to be because I have a feeling these numbers will fall, Regretting You is aiming for 8.1 million, putting it in position 1. Black Phone 2, however, it's got 8 million, and that will put it in position 2. Although the overall performance, believe it or not, from weekend to weekend, it's doing rather well, not falling all that far and ending up with a total of 61.4 million. Chainsaw Man obviously fell like a rock or like a stone because everybody that wanted to see it saw it last weekend. And that's the problem with hype and event movies, is they don't get quite the numbers you expect in the second weekend. The same thing with K-pop Demon Hunters on their second weekend, back in theaters for not quite the performance they were hoping for. Friday at 600,000, Saturday at 2.7 million, and Sunday at 1.96. 5.3 million isn't enough to justify what hoops they had to jump through to make that happen. Begonia is going to be an absolute disaster from Focus Features. This film cost more than what it cost Focus to acquire it, and it will never make $1, even for Focus Features, at 5.8 million total performance on its second week, but its first weekend wide. Back to the Future went back to 2,200 theaters, and for a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, added only 4.7 million. Lifetime brings the number to 221.7 million, but it's really not where it needed to be. Let's just say that Springsteen is still the failure we all predicted at $840,000 Friday, and only 3.8 million for the total weekend. Tron Ares is, well, just a Disney movie at this point, which means it's got flop written all over it from beginning to end. And it's going to end in a very poor sub $100 million category, domestic, currently at only 67.9 million. Now, all that just came straight out of Deadline and Antony's reporting. But Variety looks at everything a different way, basically calling out Black Phone 2 as being the thing that's going to lead theaters, as basically they went silent over the Halloween weekend. And I don't agree with that at all, and we'll look at some more numbers here from the numbers in just a moment. But Regretting You, they say, is looking at second. I disagree. 1.2 million on Friday, headed to second weekend, and gross of 6.6. I am not that disfavorable towards that particular film. I think they got it wrong, and I think the only thing they got right was the conversation about Begonia, which was a remake of a 2003 film, Save the Green Planet. Since the climate stuff is starting to break in a different way nowadays, with everything being revealed and all the falsehoods that were spread by Bill Gates and company, I'm not sure you're going to get a lot more of a run from these Save the Planet things anymore, because, well, it all turned up to be baloney garbage, as we all suspected. And I don't even care so much that Begonia was what it was. I think Emma Stone was a fool for shaving her head for a role, especially one that was going to end up performing very poorly. But overall, I think that nobody expected this weekend to be huge, and nobody saw any titles that were going to bring people into theaters. I was hoping for a little more performance from K-pop Demon Hunters, but I'm not exactly surprised now, especially with that falling so far short, and Chainsaw Man giving us a very toppled second weekend. Let's look at the numbers overall, though, because I think that's, well, going to speak to what a lot of people's experiences were this weekend. In Regretting You at 8.1 million, according to the numbers. Now, if you want to believe somebody, the numbers is usually more accurate than anyone else other than Box Office Theory, because Sean just doesn't do anything but crunch numbers, I think. We've got Black Phone 2, as I said, at 8. We've got Chainsaw Man in third place. Wow, that's wild. With a 67% collapse, which is now expected for films that are going to be the I need to see this right away and then never go see it again. It's only got 30 million in the door, and of the three films in the top three is likely going to finish behind the other two movies overall, at least when everything's been totaled. Begonia, which was garbage-tastic after it added 76% to its performance, but it also added a substantial percentage of theaters, is still only sitting at $5.8 million overall in its run. And then we go down the charts as we watch for underperformance after underperformance, and the fact that the Springsteen garbage only did 3.8 million. It is done for. This thing only has 16 million to date domestically, and well, Bruce Springsteen has tainted himself with his political overtures and extra anti-Trump garbage. And look, I'm somebody who appreciates the current administration, so I'm not going to be a fan of a property like that, particularly since the personality is so negative. Hollywood needs to reconcile the idea that they need 100% of the audience and not just, well, maybe 40%, which is about what they were targeting with this particular film. Tron Ares is garbage. Let's just say Disney from now on is so untrustworthy, the audience isn't going to support it anymore. I've been saying that for quite some time, but I think you're seeing a stacking amount of evidence that proves what I'm trying to say. Good Fortune never had a chance. It was going to be the unfortunate film because, well, Seth Rogen. And I think that the creator here and the director really didn't have a chance and really underserved what Keanu Reeves could have delivered. As we continue on one battle after another, obviously the glorification of a particular anti-FA group is going to, again, collapse onto itself. This film will never make $100 million domestically, and while it may make a couple of award ceremonies, it's going to demonstrate to the American public and beyond that we have no interest in telling non-message movies. And look, it proves out. Take a look. Everything here, complete garbage. Now, the unfortunate thing is a fellow creator out there, also known as a movie critic, kind of released a weird horror film that had very uneven acts. And while I'm not going to critique Shelby Oaks, I'm going to tell you it did a lot to earn $770,000 on its, I believe, second weekend in release. And at only $3.9 million, the question is, how much did Neon dump into this? If it was more than $10 million, I would say there will be no follow-up to this film, and I'm not sure that Mr. Stuckman will get a chance to make another one. The Conjuring continues to perform in theaters, even with a measly $410,000, and the prequel is coming in the very near future. Demon Slayer still hangs around in theaters, although not with so much fanfare, falling 50% to $350,000. Truth and Reason and many of the other ones here that are sub 500,000 are just going to be stuck with the fact that nobody is exciting the moviegoers anymore. So the moviegoers are not going to theaters. They're just going to wait a few weeks until it hits streaming. And that's the disaster that Hollywood created itself. And I have a feeling that of the large studios, Warner Brothers is feeling the effects of that, despite leading the way in overall box office performance. And if anybody's feeling it the most, it's definitely Disney. I wonder what they'll do next year. 2026 is right around the corner. I have very low expectations, and I don't have high expectations of any future releases, whether it be Zootopia or the new Avatar movie. I think those things are not going to perform as needed. What do you think? In fact, this is a great place to stop, and for me to say, the box office bloodbath has led to perhaps the end of days for theatrical releases. If you agree, let me know in the comments section down below. If you think that it's streaming that's been destroying Hollywood, let me know that as well in the comments section below. In fact, if you have any thoughts on why the constant collapse of the box office has been my focus for the last 5 months, I want to hear from you. If you're adversarial to that position or if you agree. Your comments help drive content on my channel, especially if there's something that I haven't covered yet that you might want me to cover. That's another place that you can put a comment and say, hey, why aren't you talking about this? And perhaps I'll make a video. On that note, be sure to take care of yourself, take care of others, and until next time, see ya! For real. But probably not at the theaters.